Georgia, Alabama, we have Ohio, there are Louisiana, Mississippi, several 100 to 200 from each state, depending on the state. There's also Indiana, who's supposed to be joining this task force in the coming days. So it's not at all clear who or where these National Guard members even are from. We can't even make the assumption that they are D.C. National Guard just because they were serving in D.C. as part of this. They've been involved in helping support law enforcement, so trying to bring down crime in D.C. But Hallie, over the course of this deployment, we've also seen them do things like cleaning up national monuments, putting down mulch. There was even one case that went viral where we saw National Guard members assigned to the task force helping get a cat out of a tree. So at this point, any talk of motivation or what they could have been doing at the time, it's just we aren't anywhere near there. At this point, we're still trying to figure out exactly how many members of the National Guard may have been injured here and anything about their status.
Courtney Kube, thank you. I want to pause you for a second here because in literally the last maybe 30 seconds or so, we have heard from President Trump himself in this online post on his social media site saying that both of the two National Guardsmen have, in his words, been critically wounded. Again, this is just coming in from President Trump himself saying that they are in two separate hospitals. And you're looking at it here, and that the suspect, the president describes it as the animal that shot those two, is also severely wounded, but will pay a very steep price. So the president, while he is down in Palm Beach, as you just heard from Kelly O'Donnell, responding to this very much in real time, as this is a very active investigation. Also have to tell you, in about the last 3 minutes, we found out that there is a ground stop now at Reagan National Airport, which is just across the Potomac River, of course, from Washington, D.C., due to what the FAA describes as a security reason there. So here you have one of the busier travel days of the year, of course, just ahead of Thanksgiving, and a ground stop at that airport. Let me bring in Tom Winter, who is our national security correspondent. And Tom, in an investigation like this, you've got the local, the federal nexus here, you've got D.C. officials, you've got the Department of Homeland Security. It is a sprawling and wide-ranging scene and investigation moving forward here.
Yeah, it makes it a bit of a challenge, Hallie, and as our colleague Courtney Kube was alluding to before, initially this is something that local law enforcement is a little bit better equipped to handle. You're seeing a lot more information coming directly from the D.C. police as far as where this incident occurred, that a suspect is in custody, but the information that the president just shared on social media is accurate. As we have been reporting here, two members of the National Guard have been shot in Washington, D.C., several blocks from the White House. A suspect is in custody as well at a local hospital. We have now been told that by several law enforcement officials who have been briefed on the matter, and that the condition of at least one of those members of the National Guard is quite grave. So this is somebody who's going to need a bit of a miracle here, Hallie, as they continue to try to help that individual. There were some initial reports that CPR was being conducted at the scene. So the exact motivations for this individual are not known. Obviously, tomorrow is the 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. No specific or credible threats to that parade, according to officials here in New York City, who are expected to brief the media as part of their normal briefing for the parade and for the security of the parade and about the weather of the parade in approximately 2 hours' time. But one of the things that law enforcement has been focusing on, I just was reading a threat assessment before this incident occurred, talking about the fact that there's just so much that is out there right now, whether it's political polarization, whether it's individuals that have want to conduct targeted violence, the types of targeted and political violence that we saw against Charlie Kirk, the types of targeted violence that we saw against a United Healthcare CEO almost a year ago here in New York City. We've also seen, obviously, some high-profile ISIS arrests in the last couple of weeks, as well as an ISIS attack. The last time you and I were on the air talking about a major incident of this type of nature on New Year's Day this year with an ISIS-inspired attack in New Orleans. So it's been very busy, a lot of threats that law enforcement has to focus on, and obviously a pretty hot environment when it comes to rhetoric. But again, the exact motives of this individual today, not yet known, but that's something hopefully law enforcement will be able to wrap their arms around here shortly.
Tom, thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Kelly O'Donnell, who, of course, is in South Florida. And Kelly, as we saw from the president's online post, revealing new information, he says, about what has happened just blocks from the White House. It is very clear that he is engaged, he is being briefed, and he is aware of what has gone on while he is out of town.
Certainly the president back at Mar-a-Lago. He had been at his golf club earlier in the day and has with him at every trip or visit home a team that is able to give him direct information. And I would not be at all surprised if he hasn't been on the phone with Secretary Noem or others. And this post from the president is very much in the voice of Donald Trump that we have come to expect, where he calls out the alleged suspect as an animal and talks about his devotion and concern for those who were wounded, as he gives the specific details of 2 critically wounded in 2 separate hospitals. The president has, in recent months, really taken more to this being a first line of information, where he will post information not long after he receives it. We saw it in the Charlie Kirk case, where he was the one to tell the world that Kirk had been killed in an assassination attempt, an assassination. And so in this case, it is certainly the president demonstrating that he is involved. And as we discussed earlier, his concerns about safety in D.C. has been a big part of his policy aim in this second term. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you very much. That concludes this NBC News special report. Much more ahead.
You are watching an NBC News special report on the shooting of 2 National Guards members in Washington, D.C. We'll be back with more E&C at 3 right after this.
After you're injured by one of these, life quickly spins out of control. The insurance company may try and deny your medical bills, hide the evidence, and put every obstacle in your way. You need to stop that from happening. Get your life back the way it was before the accident. The call and case evaluation are free. If you've been in an accident with a truck, you're going to need every advantage. Get the James Scott